The Galactic Council, a powerful group of alien species, sat in their grand chamber. The room was filled with representatives from various planets, all united in their belief that they were about to win their long and grueling war against humanity. Their faces were filled with pride and confidence as they discussed their recent victories. The Council had just received news of a major success. They had managed to destroy a large part of the human fleet in a recent battle. The alien forces had been planning this attack for months, using their advanced technology to track and destroy the humans. The aliens believed that this victory was the final blow to humanity's resistance. Council leader Xandar, a tall alien with shimmering scales and piercing eyes, addressed the assembly. "Today, we have proven that humanity is no match for us. Their fleets are in disarray and their planets are falling one by one. Our technology and tactics have proven superior." The representatives cheered and congratulated each other. They were convinced that the end of the human resistance was near. The council members felt that they had achieved a turning point in the war, and the victory celebrations began. On Earth, however, the situation was far from hopeless. Despite the devastating news, Admiral Sarah Reed remained calm. She was the leader of the remaining human forces and had seen many battles. She knew that the Galactic Council was overestimating their success. In secret, she gathered her top commanders for an urgent meeting. In a dimly lit room, Admiral Reed stood before her team. Her expression was serious but determined. "The Council thinks they've won. They're celebrating their so-called victory, but we know better. This isn't the end. It's just another challenge." Her team listened intently. Despite the losses, they could see the fire in Admiral Reed's eyes. She had always been a symbol of hope and resilience. "We have not been defeated," she continued. "We have resources and allies that the Council doesn't know about. We have a plan to turn the tide." The human forces were not as defeated as the Council believed. Admiral Reed revealed that they had secretly been working on new strategies and technologies. She spoke of a hidden fleet that had been in reserve, waiting for the right moment to strike. Her words were filled with hope and conviction, and her team felt renewed strength. As the Council celebrated, the mood on Earth was one of quiet determination. The human forces began to prepare for their comeback. They worked day and night to implement Admiral Reed's plan, focusing on the hidden resources that would give them an edge. The Galactic Council's overconfidence would soon be tested. They had underestimated the resilience of humanity. While the Council was busy reveling in their perceived victory, the humans were quietly building their strength and preparing for the next phase of the war. The Council's victory was not as decisive as they thought. Humanity was not ready to surrender. The human forces were regrouping, reorganizing, and readying themselves for a surprise counterattack. Admiral Reed and her team knew that the real fight was about to begin, and they were ready to show the Galactic Council that humanity would never be easily defeated. The stage was set for a dramatic turn of events. The Galactic Council's overconfidence had led them to believe that the war was nearly over. However, humanity's determination and resilience were about to prove them wrong. The next chapters of this conflict would reveal the true strength of human spirit and strategy. The Galactic Council was still basking in the glory of their recent victory. The Grand Hall was filled with the buzz of celebration. Alien leaders exchanged congratulatory gestures and speeches, their confidence reaching new heights. The mood was one of triumph, and many believed the war against humanity was all but over. Unbeknownst to them, humanity was preparing for a comeback. Admiral Sarah Reed, despite the heavy losses, had been working tirelessly with her remaining forces. The humans were not as defeated as the Council thought. They had been secretly planning their next move, using their hidden resources and allies. The Council's celebration was interrupted when a sudden alert flashed on their monitors. A new wave of human ships had appeared on the edge of their space. The Council's commanders were puzzled. They had believed that the humans were on the brink of extinction. "What is this?" demanded Council leader Xandar, his scales shimmering with irritation. "How are they back?" The alien commanders scrambled to understand the situation. The new human ships were unlike any they had seen before. They were sleek, fast, and surprisingly powerful. The humans were using new tactics that the Council had not anticipated. Admiral Reed stood in her command center, watching the scenes unfold on her screens. Her plan had been to use the hidden fleet and new technology to launch a surprise counterattack. The moment had come. She issued orders to her fleet, and they moved with precision and speed. The human forces struck hard and fast. The surprise attack caught the Council's fleet off guard. The humans used clever strategies like feints and diversions to break through the Council's defenses. The once proud alien fleet was suddenly in disarray. The Galactic Council's leaders were stunned. They had thought the humans were finished. But here they were, fighting back with renewed strength. The Council members' faces showed shock and disbelief. Their once unshakable confidence began to waver. "What is happening?" asked one of the Council members, his voice filled with concern. "How are they able to fight like this?" The Council leaders tried to regroup and respond to the unexpected threat. They ordered their forces to counter the human attack, but the element of surprise had shifted the balance of power. The humans were using their knowledge of the Council's tactics against them, exploiting weaknesses that the Council had thought were secure. Admiral Reed's strategy was working. She had managed to turn the tide in key battles, forcing the Council to retreat from some of their positions. Her forces fought with determination and bravery, driven by the belief that they could still win. Back on Earth, the mood was one of cautious optimism. The news of the human counterattack spread quickly, lifting spirits and restoring hope. Humanity's resilience was proving stronger than the Galactic Council had imagined. The fight was far from over, and the humans were showing that they would not easily give up. The Council began to realize that their victory was not as complete as they had believed. They had underestimated the tenacity and resourcefulness of humanity. The surprise counterattack had made them rethink their strategy and their confidence. As the battles continued, the Council struggled to regain control. They had to deal with the reality that the humans were not defeated, but rather regrouped and more determined than ever. The situation was becoming more complicated and dangerous for the Galactic Council. Admiral Reed and her team were not done yet. They continued to push forward, using every advantage they had to fight back against the Council. The unexpected resilience of humanity had set the stage for a new phase in the war, one where the Council's overconfidence would be tested even further. The Galactic Council was in for a tough fight. Humanity had shown that they were far from beaten. The war was far from over, and the next chapters of the conflict promised to be intense and unpredictable. The Council's belief in an easy victory had been shattered, and the real battle was just beginning. As the war dragged on, the Galactic Council grew increasingly desperate. Their initial confidence had been shattered by humanity's unexpected comeback. The Council's once unassailable plans were now falling apart, and their leaders knew they needed to take drastic measures to regain control. In the Council's command center, the mood was somber and tense. Council leader Xandar paced back and forth, his scales reflecting the dim light of the room. The hollow screens around him displayed reports of human victories and mounting losses for the Council. The situation was growing dire, and the leaders were running out of options. "We cannot let this continue," Xandar declared, his voice filled with urgency. "We need to change our approach. If we don't act now, we risk losing everything." The Council members nodded in agreement, their faces etched with worry. They knew that the current tactics were not working and that they needed to resort to more extreme measures. A plan was quickly put into motion to try and turn the tide of the war back in their favor. One of the Council's desperate actions involved deploying experimental and forbidden weapons. These weapons were designed to cause massive destruction and were previously kept hidden due to their devastating effects. The Council decided to use them in a last-ditch effort to break the human resistance. Admiral Reed received intelligence about the Council's new tactics. The news was alarming, but she remained composed. She knew that the Council's desperation could lead to even more dangerous actions. Her team prepared to counter these threats, knowing that their survival depended on quick thinking and adaptability. As the forbidden weapons were unleashed, the results were horrifying. Alien ships released devastating energy pulses and planet-destroying devices, causing massive destruction in several human-held territories. The human forces were caught off guard, and the devastation was overwhelming. In the midst of this chaos, Admiral Reed's command center was filled with activity. The team worked frantically to assess the damage and develop countermeasures. Reed knew that the Council's desperation was a sign of their vulnerability. The more extreme their actions, the more it revealed their fear and weakness. "We have to adapt quickly," Admiral Reed said, her voice steady despite the urgency. "These new weapons are powerful, but we can't let them break our spirit. We need to find a way to protect our people and strike back." The human forces rallied under Reed's leadership. They worked tirelessly to deploy new defensive measures and counter the Council's weapons. Engineers and scientists developed shielding technology to protect key locations from the alien attacks. The human resilience and resourcefulness shone through as they adapted to the new threats. The Council's actions, while devastating, also had unintended consequences. The use of forbidden weapons drew widespread condemnation from other alien factions within the Council. Some members began to question the ethics of the Council's approach and called for a re-evaluation of their strategies. Amidst the growing internal dissent, the human forces managed to regroup and strike back. They launched a series of counterattacks against the Council's weakened positions. The renewed offensive caught the Council off guard once again, showing that humanity's spirit and determination remained unbroken. The Council's desperate actions had not yielded the results they had hoped for. Instead, they had further exposed their desperation and alienated some of their own members. The human forces continued to fight with renewed vigor, showing that they were capable of overcoming even the most extreme challenges. As the battles continued, the Council faced mounting pressure from both the humans and internal dissent. Their desperate measures had failed to turn the tide decisively in their favor. The war was far from over, but humanity had once again proven their ability to adapt and resist against overwhelming odds. The Galactic Council's gamble had not paid off. The extreme actions they had taken had only highlighted their vulnerability and the resilience of their human opponents. The conflict raged on, and the future of the war remained uncertain. But one thing was clear: humanity was far from defeated. The Galactic Council's desperate measures had not achieved their desired outcome. Despite their most extreme efforts, humanity's resilience proved too strong. The war that had once seemed close to a certain end for the humans now took a dramatic turn. The tide had shifted, and the Galactic Council faced an undeniable defeat. The final battle unfolded in the vast expanse of space. The Council's once formidable fleet, now battered and weakened by human resistance, was cornered in a decisive confrontation. Admiral Sarah Reed, having meticulously planned and coordinated with her forces, led the charge against the Council's remaining ships. The battle was intense and fierce. The Council's forces fought with everything they had left, but the damage from earlier battles and the human counterattacks had taken a toll. The human fleet, rejuvenated and strategically superior, pressed their advantage. Each skirmish pushed the Council further back, and it became increasingly clear that their defeat was imminent. In the Council's command center, the leaders were in a state of panic. Council leader Xandar, who had once been so confident of victory, now looked out at the holographic displays with a face full of despair. The screens showed the Council's fleet in disarray, their ships falling one by one to the relentless human attacks. "This is not happening," Xandar muttered, his voice strained. "We cannot afford to lose now." Despite their best efforts to regroup and counterattack, the Galactic Council's defeat became inevitable. Human forces overwhelmed the remaining Council ships, and the once mighty fleet was reduced to scattered remnants. The Council's grip on the war had slipped entirely. As the battle drew to a close, Admiral Reed watched with a mixture of relief and exhaustion. The victory was hard won, and the cost had been high. But humanity had proven their strength and determination. The Council's defeat was a testament to the resilience and bravery of the human forces. In the aftermath of the battle, the Galactic Council faced a reckoning. The defeat was not just a military loss, but a blow to their prestige and power. The once unquestioned authority of the Council was now in question. Other alien factions within the Council, who had been discontented with the extreme measures taken, began to call for a re-evaluation of the Council's leadership and strategies. Admiral Reed addressed her forces in the wake of their hard-fought victory. Her speech was a mix of gratitude and reflection. "Today we have shown that humanity is not easily defeated. We have fought with honor and resilience, and we have triumphed over our greatest adversary. But let us remember the cost of this victory and strive for peace and rebuilding." On Earth, the news of the victory was met with celebrations and relief. The people rejoiced at the end of a conflict that had brought so much fear and suffering. The war had left its mark, but humanity's resolve had emerged stronger than ever. As the Galactic Council reeled from their defeat, they were forced to deal with the consequences. Rebuilding and restructuring were necessary, and many within the council began to advocate for a more diplomatic approach. The council's defeat had revealed their vulnerabilities and highlighted the need for change. Humanity, on the other hand, began the process of healing and recovery. The war had tested their limits, but it also had strengthened their unity and determination. The focus now shifted from fighting to rebuilding, and efforts were made to ensure a lasting peace. The Galactic Council's defeat was a pivotal moment in the galaxy's history. It marked the end of an era of unchecked dominance and the beginning of a new chapter. The conflict had shown that even the most powerful forces could be challenged and defeated. Humanity had proven their strength and resilience, setting the stage for a future where diplomacy and cooperation might replace conflict. As the dust settled, the galaxy began to reflect on the lessons learned from the war. The Galactic Council's defeat had reshaped the balance of power and opened new possibilities for the future. Humanity had emerged from the conflict as a formidable force, ready to face new challenges and build a new era of interstellar relations.